somewhere. Breathe in some love. Let yourself unfold. Breathe in some love.
Hello. I'm Dr. Nikki, and today I don't have any joy in what I want to talk about. I've mentioned before that, if you know anything about me, you know that I'm originally from um, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And if you know anything about Louisiana, you know Southern Louisiana and Northern Louisiana are very different places. They are not the same places. But there is um, something that hits deeper and different when in, indescribable violence hits a place that you call home. And also when the violence is so, in some ways, so resonant in the experience, um, the experiences of so many women in my bloodline, but also very different. So I'm talking about the events that happened on Sunday, April 19th in Shreveport, Louisiana, where, and so trigger warning if you are, um, content warning. I'm going to be talking about intimate partner violence. I'm going to be talking about femicide. I'm going to be talking about infanticide um, today. And so you trust your bandwidth and trust your own inner knowing. And if it is too much for you, I will not be offended if you decide not to watch this episode. Um, but I have been so deeply affected by it, and I'm still processing it, that I could not address it and talk about it. And so on Sunday, April 19th, in the pre dawn hours, 31-year-old Shamar Elkins, father of 8 children, um, husband of Shaniqua Elkins, took it upon himself to attempt to end his wife's life, um, and ended the life of um, 8 children. And correct me, I believe 7 of which were his, one of which is a nephew of his. The children were ages 3 to 11 years old. Um, they are Jayla, Shayla, Kayla, Layla, Markaden, Soraya, Kadarion, and Braylon. And they're no longer with us. It truly is incomprehensible. Like, uh, I've been doing therapy for over 20 years. I have worked in child abuse respite centers. I have been a house parent at a child abuse um, respite center, foster care respite center. I've worked in group homes, um, done therapy with kids in bad situations. Um, I've worked with a lot of clients who have experienced um, horrific trauma, sexual trauma, interpersonal trauma at the hands of their parents. I'm fully aware of the atrocities um, that have been inflicted on people at the hands of government. I know that human beings can be incredibly cruel, incredibly sick. I know all of that, and this experience is just completely unimaginable. And so I'm struggling to come up with the words to accurately describe it. This is, while this is rooted in intimate partner violence, while technically this is femicide, while technically this is infanticide, um, the language feels too clinical. And on the other hand, to talk about him being depraved or sick, damaged, also seems to get too close to absolving him of accountability, of culpability. So not only did this man try to end the life of his wife, he also shot another woman. And I've seen in what's the word? I've seen different reports about who the woman was in relationship to him, and so I won't speak up on that because I haven't seen any verified source that has consistently said who she was. But he took it upon himself to go to one house, attempt to kill one woman, get back in the car, drive streets over, blocks away, and go into the home that he shared with his wife and his children, his biological children, and his nephew. And proceeded to kill the children execution style, meaning direct gunshots to their bodies. I assume at their heads, I'm not sure. So this wasn't an act in which he was panicking and there was errant bullets, stray bullets, or that he was using a weapon like an AR-15 that scatters bullets at so many crazy rounds per second. No, this was calculated and intentional, and it took time to end the lives not only of that many humans, but of children to whom you are the parent. And so I don't want to use any language that doesn't fully and accurately describe the horror that is. And I don't know that I have the language to describe the horror. When we talk about patriarchy, when we talk about systems of power, we cannot just talk about them in the abstract as these theoretical terms, because the abstract, any system that exists, any system that hoards and controls power, only does so in the context of real human beings' lived experiences. And so it means to live under patriarchy is a threat to everyone. It doesn't mean that everyone's life is impacted equally or with the same intensity, but it means that living under the system deprives everyone of the fullness of their humanity. And in that deprivation, we end up with circumstances like Shamar Elkins feeling completely empowered to externalize whatever suffering, discontent, anger, rage, hatred whatever, whether that's self loathing or self hatred, insecurity, whatever pain that he was experiencing, to inflict upon innocent children and women. There's no other context. There's no other theoretical framework that applies that fully explains why someone would do something like that. Because it is so very personal. And there was no instigating event outside of the fact that his wife had asked for separation and a divorce. Patriarchy does not exist without violence. Violence is one of its primary tools. It's why the minute you start to think about if incidents of rape, sexual assault, intimate partner violence were disproportionately perpetrated by women towards men, the whole idea falls apart. You can't conceive of it. That's how you know it's patriarchy. Because the dominance associated with masculinity is justified because of the system. This happens on the back of a political figure ending his life and his wife's life, Serena Fairfax, on Friday, because she also was ready to leave. I work with a lot of women in therapy around their sexual and relational wellness. An area that I always struggle to work with clients. I actually will tell people it is a very much lesser area of competence for me, is working with women who are in intimate partner violent relationships. It is an area that hits too close to home for so many women that I love and have loved. So many women in my family who have died violently because a man decided that his internal pain, his sense of ownership over her, his inability to regulate his own emotions was more important than their lives. It's difficult for me because I know two things that are very true, and both of these incidents reveal that. A woman is never at risk of her life being ended than in the period of time when she's planning to leave. And there's not ever a woman who actually is able to leave who wishes they had stayed longer. And I know those two things as fact. And that doesn't allow me to do my job as a therapist in the way that I do therapy very well. Because I lose my ability to be objective about allowing the person to come to the decision they need to come to on their own, because I'm so preoccupied with their safety and their well-being. I'm not good at it for those reasons. I really need us to learn how to better understand these systems that are ruining our lives, to be able to name them, to be able to identify them when they are happening in our own day-to-day lived experiences, and to be willing to develop the skills, the tools, and the resources to push back against them. It's too much. It's too much. This um, act of violence, this hell this man unleashed, will not only impact his family, his wife's family, but everyone that loved them, their entire community for generations. This is the type of terror and trauma that changes us on a cellular level. It's already too late. We're already so far behind. This version of reality that we're all stuck in is violent. Every day living in the United States, just living here is violent. Because every part of this world that we have, that we live under, all the systems that we live under, extract way more from us as individuals than is humanly possible, unceasingly, without reprieve and without justification or apology or accountability. That is violence. And so we really must move out of our discomfort to address the things that need to be addressed when we see them happening. Silence is a function of trauma, a symptom of trauma, oftentimes. But you got more than one way to use your voice. That's number one. Number two, I will remind you, I always bastardize quotes because I can't ever remember the details. I'll remind you of Sister Audre Lorde's words, and that you should speak even if your voice shakes, because it's better than being silent. And Zora Neale Hurston's words, to speak out, because otherwise they will kill you and say that you enjoyed it. Women, we have to divest from patriarchy in all the ways that we reinforce, uphold, support, look the other way around toxic masculinity, around homophobia, around transphobia. It's all a function of patriarchy. If your gender identity is only contingent upon comparing yourself to someone else's of the extreme, then it's not really your identity. It's a performance. Meaning, if you're a woman and you experience femininity because you say that you do, it doesn't matter how you present it. It's on your own terms. So you don't need someone to present as masculine or hyper masculine in order for you to feel or be feminine. The work really does start there. When you see your sister friend, your cousin, your auntie, whoever, your daughter, in a dynamic, in a toxic dynamic that you know has no good end for them, speak to it. Do so strategically, because again, the goal is to keep them alive. And one of the ways in which intimate partner violence operates is to isolate the victim from their support system. So do so strategically, but also be mindful of how you talk about women, how you talk about men, how you talk about relationships, how you talk about what's acceptable, even when you're not talking directly to them. Because people will watch you for how you are and they'll believe what they observe more than what you tell them. So if your behavior itself and the words that you say outside of the context are unaligned with what you're telling them, you're not credible. You have your own work to do. But if you're living in alignment, you have a responsibility to speak up sooner rather than later. Intimate partner violence is so commonplace in my family. It's so commonplace in my family. There are family members who everyone knows their husband whoops their ass on a regular basis, and nobody says anything to her or to him about it. Or if she fights back, then they say it's, they fight, they like that. She get her licks in. No. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. I'm not a forensics expert. I've never studied criminal psychology. So I can't begin to tell you about the psychology of someone that would have the capacity to shoot their own children. I can't tell you about the psychology of someone who has the capacity to shoot a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, 7-year-olds. What I can tell you is that the baby that survived will live with this trauma and survivor's guilt for the rest of their lives. Therapy is amazing. I pray that they get excellent care. And this moment has irrevocably changed their lives. From all reports, the mother seems that she's going to survive physically. I don't even know what to begin to say about how she will survive the grief of learning that all of her children have been killed by their father. I can't imagine that. It's in these moments that I only understand how to move forward from spirituality. Whatever that is, these are only the moments where something beyond the human experience, more powerful than the human experience, bigger than the human experience, more intelligent than the human experience, to begin to look for an avenue forward for her. Her life is irrevocably changed. And that is if she's not permanently disabled from however the impact of the gunshot had on her. If you are a survivor, if you love a survivor, if you know a survivor, I am grateful that you're still here. And I hope that you express your gratitude to them too for still being here. The courage it takes to survive is immense. So If it's been a while since you told them that you were proud of them, that you are so grateful that they are still here and that they survived, this is the opportunity to remind them again. I sincerely pray that Jayla, Shayla, Kayla, Layla, Markaden, Soraya, Kadarion, and Braylon transcend and transition in complete peace. I pray that their souls are at peace. I also pray that Shamar Elkins' soul never knows peace. I hope his soul experiences 100-fold the hell he unleashed in this world on his own children. I hope in any measure of time across any time and space, that soul never knows peace. If you have listened to this and you know in your knowing that you're in a situation that is not for your best interest, in which you know it's a real possibility that you might not come out of it alive, make your plans to leave. Be smart. Be strategic. Use every resource you have available to you. But make your plans to leave. There is not one woman alive who has left a violent relationship and thought they wish they had stayed longer. Not one. Not one. Okay. I'm going to put resources in the show notes for you, for anyone. They'll be there if ever you need. Thank you for letting me process some of this out loud. I am going to continue to be very gentle with myself. I'm going to allow myself to continue to grieve these babies that I have never known and will never know. I'm going to allow myself to continue to grieve the sheer incomprehensibleness of the situation. And for all the women in my family who have died at the hands of a man who couldn't handle their own pain, who thought that the women belonged to them, I'm going to grieve for them again. I'm going to rest well. I'm going to take good care of my body. I'm going to pray. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do everything I can to keep this trauma from taking root in my body. And I really, really want to encourage you to do all the same things. I'm talking to friends about it. I'm being in community with people about it. And I suggest strongly that you do the same things as well. Thank you for watching today.